Hey guys, Coach Saqib today. So I'm going to elaborate off last week's video. The first two we did was squats and deadlifts. One of the biggest issues we see with those is though, there's a lot of anterior hip pain that comes into it. Sometimes we get lateral hip pain or posterior hip pain. Hip pain is very common to see when you start going to overuse injuries, especially when you go to programs that are very heavy on squats, deadlift, lunges, that sort. So today I'm going to take a little bit of focus and give you some exercises and stretches you can do to help alleviate some of that hip pain you're having, and also just including your general warm-up. The first thing I always start with is I always go down on the floor, okay? So we're gonna do the 90-90 hip stretch. 90-90 hip stretch is really good for internal and external rotation of the hip, and also in case you have hip impingement, you can start releasing that capsule. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna come down on the floor, okay? The front leg's gonna make a 90 degrees angle, the back leg's gonna make a 90 degrees angle. You're gonna try to stay up nice and upright, nice and tall, and right here initially you'll start feeling a pull here, and you should feel a slight pull here depending on how tight you are. From there, there's other things you can do to start increasing the range of motion and also stretching a little further. The first thing I like to do is I open up, take a nice deep breath in and let it all the way out. And as I exhale, I start to lean forward a little bit. So I take a deep breath in, out, and I come in forward a little bit more. And as I lean forward, the hip in front, I'm gonna feel a stretch right in that posterior side where the glute med, glute max, and also my piriform is gonna step, okay? That's one thing you do. From there, you just rotate over and you go to the other side and you get both aspects. The second thing we can do, we're gonna start that same starting position, and the back leg is what we're gonna work on, okay? We're gonna try to work on that range of motion in this hip to start getting a proper warm-up. So this is something you can do in a warm-up drill. All you're gonna do is lift that back leg up, nice and slow, and bring it right back down. And as you're lifting, you're gonna increase and start breathing more and more. Nice deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just keep working on that. And as you work, you just work on the internal and external rotation of that hip, okay? Then, from there, another thing I like to do is a kneeling hip flexor. So, one thing we see in kneeling hip flexor is people tend to come in, they grind forward, and that's it. You're just overstretching that tendon, okay? So make sure you take the step forward. First thing I always tell people is we're gonna go, I'll show you side view, okay? Make sure your hip's not back and your hip's not too far forward. We're in neutral hip position. From there, we're gonna squeeze this glute as tight as possible, squeeze your abs as tight as possible, okay? These are gonna be tight. So right there, when you tense up, we're gonna start feeling that in the anterior hip. And then, same thing, nice deep breath, and I'm only gonna make a slight move forward. I'm not going all the way up, I'm just taking it nice and simple and slightly forward. That's too easy for you, get your arm and go across. Then you'll feel a little bit more of the lateral side with the TFL, the IT band sit, and so forth. Another thing you can add from there is we'll go right from there and we'll sit back. Chest stays tall, and we're gonna open up and get that hamstring, right? Going into the back side, you get a little bit of glute, chest is open. I don't want you rounding your shoulder back, I don't want you rounding that, because when you start to round, you take away from the hamstrings. If I go into a hamstring stretch with the open chest and just work on here, you'll feel it here. Here, I'm just doing more lumbar flexion, right? We're just stretching out the back a little bit and we're taking away from the hamstrings. The last thing I'm gonna show you today, and we'll add more to this later on, this is one of my favorite stretches. Same thing as that kneeling hip flexor, it's a little more intense. So if you're really tight, progress yourself to this one. You're gonna take your back leg, we're gonna slide it straight down against the wall, okay? From here, we're gonna come up nice and tall. So same thing as the kneeling hip flexor, but now we have some flexion of the knee that's gonna increase the amount of tension you have on your quad. This one hurts, it's very painful if you're very tight. Like myself, I'm very tight, feel it out. From here, what I'll do is again, same thing, work on my breathing. And what I like to do personally, just to open up a little bit more of the anterior capsule, I take a deep breath in, and as I exhale, I reach up behind me. And I just repeat that and more. My end goal is to reach that wall behind me. And as I do that, I'll start to feel that alleviation of that quad and it loosens up. You can do this as a pre-warm-up, you can do them post. I recommend them off days as well. Taking care of your hips is very important. If you're not taking care of those hips, they're just gonna become tighter and tighter, and your lifts are gonna suffer from that point. Also, tight hips lead to other issues, back pain, shoulder issues, ankle issues. We'll show you those later on as I progress into more videos. But for now, this is the first step of going that route. Take care of your hips,